Good evening, guys. Daniel here from Single Malt Jack, and welcome back to the channel. As promised, we're going to do a bit of a whiskey review this evening. Okay, I've picked the Balvenie double wood, double cask, I guess as you call it. So, look, to be honest with you, I'm no expert with whiskey at all. For me, this is going to be just as much as a learning curve as you guys. So, we're gonna sample this whiskey. We're going to talk about it, go into a bit of detail. Also got my laptop here with a whiskey review, so I want to run through that just to make sure I'm on the right page, because as I said, for me this is a complete learning curve as well. Once again, completely apologise for my editing skills. As you can see, I'm just filming this on my phone at the moment, so the quality is not going to be great, so please bear with me. I guarantee it'll get better as we go, if there's enough people that like my content, which I really hope there are. So, you know, once again, we're sticking with the whiskey theme, but we are going to be talking about whiskey, we're going to be talking about beers, and we're also going to be talking about barbecues. So I'm just going to pour myself a tiny nip of the Balvenie 12. And look, straight away you can see from this bottle that essentially it is quite a nice single malt Scotch whiskey. Okay, it's been matured in 2 casks. Okay, so they start with just an ex-bourbon barrel for not too sure how many years they do that for. Doesn't actually say on this review. And then essentially what they do is they finish it in a second maturation, which is an ex-sherry cask. Okay, so basically whiskey barrels that have had sherry in them to age the sherry, and then they dump the sherry out, and then they put this whiskey into the sherry barrel to finish it. So you know, you can definitely see from the colour that it is quite a dark, quite a rich whiskey. You know, obviously not as dark as some. The flavour profile is fantastic. The smell on the nose is really good. And the finish is amazing as well. So I'm just here on the Whisky Exchange, okay, which is a fantastic website. Anything about whiskey, you can order whiskey on there. You know, it gives you reviews, it tells you about the flavour profiles, it's got tasting notes. So I just want to run through that and just see how that compares with my experience. So essentially what they're saying on here is it's a 12-year-old, okay, we know that's from Scotland, it's from the Speyside region. Yep, fantastic, we already knew that. Sherry finish, and the other thing is they've added colouring to it, okay, so it says there's a big tick saying yes, we've added colouring, which is a little bit concerning, because you'd like to hope that, you know, the colour of the whiskey you're getting is essentially what's being driven from the barrels and the colour that the oak in the barrels is imparting on the whiskey. But as you can see, that's not always the case. A lot of these distilleries do put colouring into the whiskey, and they are allowed to do that. There's no rules saying that they can't. And the reason they do that is to try and keep the colour profile the same on every single whiskey, which is, in my point of view, it is a little bit disappointing. You know, I don't think that is, I guess, you know, the best way to do things. But hey, I'm not a distillery. We're just reviewing it, so you know, it is what it is. So you can see I've got the tasting glasses here. Now, for those that don't know a whole heap about whiskey, these glasses are called a Glencairn glass, and they're just fantastic for essentially tasting whiskey and doing a review on the whiskey. So the shape, the conical shape of the glass reflects all the flavours up into your nose. So as you go in to smell the whiskey, and when you're smelling whiskey on the nose, first of all, you don't want to be breathing through your nose, because what that does is it essentially just hits you with a high percentage of alcohol, and really just burns your nose hairs, okay? And that's not how you want to be doing it. You want to actually be breathing in through your mouth, okay? So as you do it, you breathe in through your mouth, and you can essentially get the flavors, and you can get the profile of the whiskey before you even taste it. So what that's called essentially is just getting to know your whiskey, okay? If it's a nice, single malt, something that you've paid a lot of money for, or it's been given to you as a present, just sit on it for a little bit, okay? Don't mix it with Coke and all that stuff. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about how to actually drink your whiskey, because I'll cover that in a different episode, okay? Because there's a million ways to actually drink your whiskey, and that's something for another day. But we're just doing a review today. So when you do a review, you definitely want to have the Glencairn glass, okay? And you want to actually just give it some time to just sit in there for the flavour profiles to open, just for the whiskey to really just breathe. And it's all about getting to know the whiskey. And straight away that sherry cask hits you on the nose with the smell. And the more you sort of, move the whiskey around the glass, the more you start smelling the whiskey and getting really just getting to know. I know it sounds strange, but what you're doing is just getting to know the whiskey. The more you can sort of understand the flavour profiles and what the whiskey's done in the oak cask, or the multiple casks in this case, and it's just a really, really nice experience to do that. So what these guys are saying in terms of flavour profile is 3 out of 5 for body. Okay, fair enough. I don't know exactly what that means. In terms of richness, 4 out of 5. Yeah, it is quite a rich flavour profile. There's no smoke or peat in this whiskey. Okay, so it's not peated or smoky at all. Quite just a nice malty, caramelly flavour. Sweetness, 4 out of 5. Haven't tried it yet, but it definitely is on the sweeter side, which is probably why I do like it. In terms of the character, they're saying black pepper, cinnamon, raspberry, milk chocolate, okay, and stewed fruit. Quite interesting. So look, let's have a bit of a sample. And when you want to actually sample the whiskey, just let it sit in your mouth for a little bit. Swish it around, okay? Swish it around your palate. I'm just trying to get a feel for the flavour profile and what that taste is. Definitely red fruits, so cherries, raspberries, and I think a lot of that is being imparted by the sherry cask, okay? What they're saying here in terms of the nose is chocolate, raspberry aromas. We can definitely smell that. Rich brioche and stewed cherries. I would definitely have to agree in terms of the nose. In terms of the taste and on the palate, cherries, raspberries, sponge cake. I didn't get a whole lot of sponge cake in there. Spicy cinnamon, definitely. A bit of black pepper. I can see where they're coming from as well. Yeah, definitely a finish of black pepper there. Those cherries are definitely coming through. The red berries, quite heavy. Quite a sweetness in terms of the malt and caramel flavours coming through there as well. That's just it is a fantastic whiskey. I think that's fantastic. Finish, sweet spice, red fruit, and rich sponge cake. Definitely, I can see that. It's quite nice, quite good just to sit on. Nice, probably recommended as an after dinner whiskey, definitely. You know, just something that you're gonna sit by in winter on a cold night, and just enjoy it. Probably not something you're going to be drinking every day or every week. In terms of the price point, I paid $104 for this bottle at Dan Murphy, so that's in Australian dollars. So it is sort of getting up there. I mean, once you get to that sort of price point, you really want to be enjoying that whiskey. Personally, I think it is a little bit overpriced in terms of some of the other whiskies you can buy in that range, like comparing it to the Aberlour and, you know, a few of the other things. I definitely think it is a touch overpriced, but man, look, you can't argue with the flavour profile of that whiskey. You can't argue with the smoothness. You can't argue with the flavours, the colour. I think it's just an absolute great drop. If I was to pair it with something, I'm just trying to think what would go very well with it. I mean, for me, it'd probably be something like you know, either cherries or some dried figs. Look, even some dark chocolate would probably go well with this, because in terms of the flavour profile, yeah, it's definitely hitting me with some dark chocolate as well. So I think that would pair quite well with it. You know, something, you know, a little bit sort of on the sweeter side. And I might actually do that after the video, just pair it with something and see how that sits. So look, that's the review for me. It's the first review I've ever done on whiskey. I've been enjoying whiskey for years and years and years. I've always wanted to do something like this because I enjoy drinking it, I enjoy talking about it, I enjoy everything about it. I enjoy looking at it, I enjoy buying it, although sometimes the price is a little bit to balk at, but you know, you've got to understand the time and the effort that's gone into distilling the whiskey, and then cutting the whiskey and then aging it in barrels, and then with this particular whiskey putting it then into a second barrel and then bottling it. So a lot of, you know, you really do appreciate the time and the effort that goes into making this stuff and maturing this stuff. You know, absolutely hats off to these guys. I think they do a great job. If you haven't tried the Balvenie, I suggest get out there, try it, let me know what you think, put some comments in there if you think it's worth the money or you don't think it's worth the money. As I said, first review I've ever done, so, you know, don't hang me for it. And, you know, I'm definitely going to have to be using these notes just to sort of bounce off them and see what I sort of think about it as well. So, as I said, for me it's a learning experience. You know, stick with us. If you've enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the content, you know, please like us and follow us. There's a lot more things coming up. I think the next thing we might do is a bit of barbecue next weekend. So stay tuned. You know, there's going to be a lot of things coming up. So Single Malt Jack, look out for us. We're all about whiskey, beer, and barbecues. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.